Good morning, this is meteorologist Joel Ambrose with your tropical update for 10:20 a.m. And here's a new update. We have some new information on what was once formerly Invest 97L. Now it's potential tropical cyclone 4, and the center is over Cuba at this moment and near Santiago. So this will continue to move further away, and the new path is coming very, very soon. So I'm going to show you the tropics and what the new path is by the National Hurricane Center. Now they are predicting that it will eventually turn, and the good news is it will be away from us over the next few days. But again, the cone could shift over the next really 24 to 48 hours. And I'm going to show you what I'm really watching. If we can cue up the green screen, I'm actually going to show you guys what I'm looking at the moment. So right now, the National Hurricane Center does still have it developing eventually into a tropical storm and making landfall near the Big Bend area of Florida as a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Now, eventually, this could move further out to the north and the east, but I'm going to show you some things that I'm watching. So one of the things that I'm watching is that the center is right here over Cuba. But there are some thunderstorms that are trying to develop to the south, and there's also some thunderstorms trying to develop to the north. So what could happen is sometimes they're going to fight. They're going to fight to see which center takes over. If this center forms just a little bit further to the south, that can change the path tremendously, and that cone could shift westward. Now, if it does form further to the north, then that cone that we're seeing could shift a little bit farther to the east. So east is good, west, if the cone shift to the west, is a little more bad. So I'm going to show you some of the rainfall totals that we're seeing. This is two different models. This is our Barron model. So if we do see this tropical system further to our west, it looks like rainfall totals, we're going to get rain regardless throughout the weekend just due to a stalled front. Really maybe an inch or two at the most. Now the GFS model is showing even less rain if this does stay out to our east. So we're going to continue to watch these models right now. Again, potential tropical cyclone 4. The threat to the Wiregrass right now does seem like it is on the lower side. Now I'm going to go behind the green screen, and I'm actually going to show you some of the things that I am looking at. So one of the things that we're looking at, again, is the tropical satellite and radar. Potential tropical cyclone 4 has now formed, but the great news is that right now it looks like that it will stay to the east of us for now. But like I mentioned, we saw this with Hurricane Beryl. At first, they had Hurricane Beryl hitting areas of Mexico, and over the last 48 to 72 hours, we saw some shifts. So at first, Beryl was projected to hit further near the border of Texas, then shifted all the way up near Houston. So even though this is a few days out, this is a Sunday at 7 p.m., this could shift further to our west. So make sure you still review those hurricane preparedness kits. Make sure you just over the weekend, really for your Friday and Saturday, make sure you get your flashlights, your batteries, just in case. But this is good news for the Wiregrass at this moment. What's going to happen is usually if you're on the west side of the storm, you're getting drier air from the north. So that means rain chances would actually be on the lower side if we end up on this side of the cone, and it does verify. Again, now if it does shift to the west and we end up on the east side of the cone, or we end up a little bit closer to the center of this cone, then we could see some impacts. So still 2 to 3 days out before we could see some impacts from this storm or lack thereof. But this is a good sign over the next few days, and we're going to see if this trend continues. There will be a new cone typically every 6 hours, so there'll be an update around 4 p.m. Central with a brand new cone to see if this shifts to the west or shifts to the east. There'll be an update at 10, and we're going to be here tomorrow as well. So make sure you tune into WDHN News at 6 and also at 10 for brand new updates on this tropical system. And we're going to be Facebook Live later on today as well. So they do have it as a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm near Sunday, making landfall near the Big Bend. But again, that will change, and that could change, and it's all dependent on what we're seeing. So if you guys have any questions in the chat, I will be happy to answer as well. And I'm going to look through the comments just in case to see if you guys have any questions for me or if you guys have any concerns. And I'm actually going to see if I can draw some things out as well with this particular system. So again, what we're watching is this area right here, and this is potential tropical cyclone 4. And what we're watching is these particular areas to the south and to the north. Whichever one consolidates will have a great chance of impacting that forecast cone. because it does not have a defined center yet. That's why we're not calling it a tropical depression, or we're not calling it a tropical storm. So what's going to happen is once that center does decide to develop, we're going to see if the center develops a little bit too far to the south. You can see the western side of the cone, and Apalachicola and Panama City will be right back in play. Now, if it does continue to stay on the eastern side, areas close to the Florida Keys, Tampa Bay, Cedar Key, Gainesville, Jacksonville, they would be more in play over the next few days. But like I mentioned, with Beryl, we saw landfall point near Brownsville, Texas. Then we saw a shift a day later, and a shift a day later. So this is what we're watching for, and I'm actually going to try to put some spaghetti plots up for you guys too, and I'm going to show you another way that we do to actually track what some of the possibilities are. And again, I'm looking for any questions, comments. Will this bring above average rain or destruction such as flooding or tornadoes? Great question. Great question, Katie. So if we end up on the west side of the cone, like I previously mentioned, we will be on the quote unquote good side. So the way hurricanes work is that tropical storms and most tropical systems work is it's basically a large circle. So if you end up on the east side, so let's just say this is the circle. If you're on the east side, we call that the dirty side. That's due to the angle it has to the coast. That's where you get the flooding rains, the tornado threat. In this particular scenario, if we end up on the west side and this actually does verify, actually, we might see dry weather and temperatures in the 90s over the next few days. So we could see maybe a few showers, but the threat will be little to very minimal. So this is good news. What we're seeing right now is good news for the Wiregrass because it's showing a weaker system affecting lower points of Florida near the peninsula, near the Cedar Key area, and it's staying away from the Wiregrass, similar to what we saw last year with Hurricane Idalia. At first, they had Idalia making landfall near Apalachicola, but we saw that trend to the east. And if you remember with Idalia, we barely got any rain, maybe half an inch of rain to an inch of rain at most, maybe a few showers, no thunderstorms, nor tornadoes. But if this does move further to the west and we end up near the cone, like in this area, anywhere you see near the blue or to the center of this cone, then those impacts for tornadoes and flooding could begin to increase. But that's why we're here. And again, we will know a lot more information once this gets off of Cuba. The hard part is you have little circulations to the north and to the south. Whichever one becomes the dominant circulation will determine the track of this cone over the next few days. And again, we're still a few days out from any impact. So that's why I want you guys to really stay here and watch as much as possible over really the next 24 to 48 hours. That's when I think we'll have the most information. I think right now I'm going to show you guys actually some spaghetti plots and what I've been seeing as well, which spaghetti plots, all there are is other models. And what they do is they show information and they show what other possible scenarios could happen. So this is the cone. And these are the spaghetti plots. And I'm actually going to put this cone off. So this is what the models are thinking. Models are thinking as of right now, it missing our area. And most of the models have it near the Tampa, Gainesville area. Now there are a few models, there are outliers, like this model, the TCLP, all the way in Houston, close to Houston in Louisiana. That's a very far outlier, and a few outliers are still showing a Panhandle possible landfall. But the good news is the majority, and what the National Hurricane Center does is they usually take the majority, and the majority are keeping it away from us, like I said, for now. And the reason I want to reiterate that is a few days ago, spaghetti plots were all the way near the Bahamas, Miami, Jacksonville, and even the Carolinas. And they totally shifted to the west. Now we saw a westward shift even more. Now we're seeing more of an eastward shift once again. So we're going to continue to watch this for you. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know. Yes, so I'm also getting the question for tropical storm watches as far as where are they issued. They're only issued for portions of Florida, and it looks like, I'm going to check with the National Hurricane Center, looks like for southern parts of Florida at the moment. I'm going to verify that for you guys because we just got this update literally within the last 15 to 20 minutes. and it looks like it's showing for only southern portions of Florida, which are under a tropical storm warning, and areas near the Tampa Bay area, they are under a tropical storm watch. So no watches for the Panhandle, no warnings for the Panhandle, but we're just in that wait and see mode over the next few days. And I'm going to show you back on the cone. The cone really does reiterate the majority of what models are seeing. But like I said, models change, they flip-flop, and they do this thing called a windshield wiper effect, where sometimes they'll shift to the west, then shift to the east, shift back to the west, and shift back to the east over and over until they get a good consensus of what's going on. So I'm going to show you actually some of the scenarios of what could happen as well. So I'm going to show you what the GFS is thinking. I'm actually going to show you what the what Barron, our system, is thinking as well when it comes to the next few days as far as with the tropical system. So I'm going to punch up the GFS and see and show you what they're thinking, and it's actually good news. All of this would be great news for the Wiregrass, but again, we're waiting and watching, and this is over the next 5 days. So what the GFS is showing is it's all due to steering currents. So right now we have this front, and this front is right here. And what's going to happen is it's going to try to drag down south and cause scattered storms across the area. And I'm actually going to pause it right here. So with tropical storms, what they like to do is you see this front right here. You have this area right here, and what the tropical system likes to do is follow the weakness in the front. So that will help lift it north, and the further south this front goes, the faster it'll move to the north and to the east. And I'm going to show you what's going to happen with the GFS. So the GFS does eventually take this to the north and shoots it out to the east right here. You're going to see this area of low pressure, and that as the front gets closer for your Saturday, and this is why Saturday is important. The weather that we see today will greatly affect what we see on Monday and Tuesday. So then we see it hook to the left, hook to the right, excuse me, and then stall over North Carolina. That would be great news for us if that does verify. Now I'm going to show you what our Barron system thinks as well. And they're kind of in the same line of agreement as of right now. And again, we get updates really every 6 hours with some of these models. So we're going to show you every possible scenario over the next few days and really through your daytime and your nighttime. So what the Barron model is showing is you have our area of low pressure right here near Cuba. And then what's going to happen is I'm actually going to turn on these fronts for you guys. And what happens is we have this area of high pressure, and what happens is that this will continue to move to the north, and you see that front move down just a little bit faster than expected. The faster the front moves down, the further to the east this will go, and the further it'll stay away from us. You can see it only shows a few showers maybe for your Monday. It will keep us cooler because we'll have winds coming from the north in the Circle City, and that will keep us nice and dry for the most part, just cooler weather. So this scenario would be good for us. Both of these scenarios would be good news. The only thing that would be bad is if we see more of a scenario where, let's just say, this front stays a little further to the north, and I'm going to show you what's going to happen. If we see this front stay a little bit further to the north, or we see this front begin to stall, what will happen is that it will give it more opportunity to stay north and not hook to the east like we see with these models. So this is what we're waiting for. We're just waiting to see what this front does. Again, the further south this front moves, the better. The further north, or if it stalls a little bit further north than expected, the worse it will be, or the further west this storm will be, and the potentials to the Wiregrass would be possible. So my best recommendation, and my recommendation right now, is if you live in the Panhandle, if you live anywhere, you still should be watching. Not worrying, but watching at least over the next 24 to 36 hours, where we will get a good grip on what this storm will do. We're waiting for that low-level circulation to develop, and we will continue to wait and watch. So as of now, we look to be on the good side. Yes, yes, yes. As of right now, as of what the cone is showing, and I'm going to show you that cone by the National Hurricane Center one more time. I'm going to show you guys what their line of thinking is. And again, like I mentioned, I always want to reiterate, these things can shift. We saw it with Beryl in Houston, and I'm not saying that it will happen, but it can happen, and it's a possibility that the models will shift once again to the west. But yes, what the cone is showing is that we will remain on the good side. So the good side is what we call the west side of the storm. As long as you stay for the most part, if you stay a good side to the west of the storm, at least when it comes to tropical storms and maybe those smaller hurricanes, that is absolutely good news. So right now, with the exception of a few outliers, we are to the west of what the majority model consensus and what the National Hurricane Center is thinking. So what that means for us is we might see a few showers maybe for your Sunday going into your Monday, but as far as the gusty winds, the flooding, everything, that's usually concentrated to the north, the center, and the east side. Or if you're on the west side, you have to be really, really close near the eye. And of course, we're way too far to be on that side to get any impacts if this model and if this path, verifies over the next really 2 to 3 days. And one thing that I do want to talk about too, again, you see the cone, you see the cone, you see the cone. Don't pay attention necessarily to the cone because you can still see impacts outside of the cone. And usually the average forecast track error within 3 days is 125 miles. So basically what they're saying is that this could shift 125 miles to the west, or this could shift 125 miles to the east. So this is why they have a cone. It's called the cone of uncertainty. So so you see this edge right here, it's a possibility. This could shift all the way back over here near Apalachicola, 125 miles to the west. Or it's a possibility it could shift even further to the east, 125 miles to the east, closer to the Jacksonville and Gainesville region. So this is why I continue to reiterate again, 3 days out, be prepared, don't be scared. Right now, we're just watching, but as of right now, this does seem like good news for the Wiregrass. And we're gonna have more information as well on daytime, and we actually are gonna enter daytime in the next really 20 to 30 minutes. So we're gonna keep you guys updated. Again, new models are coming out really within the next 20 to 35 minutes. So once we get to WDHN News, especially at 5, we will have new models. There'll be a new track, and we will see if things shift to the east, if things shift to the west. But as of right now, like I said, good news is ahead for now, but still watch on the weekend. Like I said, I'm going to continue to reiterate. We saw it with Beryl. Beryl was supposed to make landfall in Texas, in Mexico, ended up making landfall closer to Houston. So we're going to wait. We're going to watch, and we're going to continue to keep you guys updated on air and online. We will have another Facebook Live later on today with Chief Meteorologist Chad Creeley, and we will continue to see updates from the National Hurricane Center. We get another update around 4 p.m. Central, another one around 10 p.m. Central, just in time, right before our newscast for the evenings. So I thank you all for watching, and if you have any more questions, I'm going to leave this up for about 3 to 4 more minutes, and if you guys have any more questions, I'm happy to answer it. And thank you, and watch us at daytime right here at 11 a.m. since we are not seeing any further questions, I do want to thank you guys for watching. Again, my last little comments on this storm. Still watch over the next few days, especially for tomorrow, just waiting for that center to come off of Cuba. Remember, the track could shift further to the west or east within the next few days. We're going to continue to have updates. I have more updates on daytime. I want you guys to tune in right here at 11 a.m. Tune in at 5 p.m. with Chief Meteorologist Chad Crilly. And thank you guys for watching, and watch at night for our 10 p.m. show as well. Thank you.